30th, Shaquie Foster defends the WBC super featherweight title against Raymond Ford. Awesome matchup. If you're a purist, this is a really, really good high level fight between two fighters supremely confident, don't like each other, who bring a lot of hand speed and
Yep.
skills to this fight. I'll just give my initial impression. I'm not ready to pick this fight yet. And I think I told you we got to go out to Houston for this fight. So hopefully we'll both be out there come fight week. But my initial impression when this fight crossed the finish line was I don't think it may have not been wise for Oshaki Foster to stay at 130, one fight too many. And you know
Mm.
who did that once upon a time, coming off his best performance, was Raymond Ford
Raymond Ford.
at
Yep.
126, right?
Correct.
He had his best performance of his career beating Otabek Klomatov, an inspiring performance coming from behind on the cards, the
Great
knockout.
fight.
That fight and your boy Angelo Leo's fights were my favorite fights of 2024. Inspirational stuff, great stuff in the boxing ring. And I thought Shock looked better than ever. We were at that fight at San
Yep.
Antonio on the co-main of Pitbull Cruz and Lamont Roach. He looked fantastic. He switched stances. His control of distance was incredible. His defense is always great.
Tight.
Oshaki, one of the best defensive fighters with one of the best shoulder rolls in the game. But he also looked bone dry at the
Mm.
weigh-in. And Raymond Ford just got to 130. He's going to be very, very strong at the weight. And I think of guys like Teofimo Lopez against Shakur and Canelo against Crawford,
Yeah.
who I don't think it would have ultimately changed the outcome, but they look like their years of peak build and strength at the weight class had passed them by the time those fights happened after years of making 140 and 168. And so my first impression of this fight was I give the edge to Ford. He's younger, he's going to be stronger and more hydrated and healthy at 130
Okay.
pounds. But then, watching some tape, and I do see that the more they're at distance, the more that favors Oshaki Foster.
Correct.
The more they're in the pocket, mid to closer ranges, that favors Raymond Ford. He can rip with better hand speed, and he just rips better at that distance. But Ford, he has to navigate, but it's not like he's an all-out pressure fighter.
No,
He
no.
though it comes in waves, but in the middle of those waves, in between those waves, he should be at a disadvantage on the outside against Foster. And Foster has shown us spurts of firepower in the pocket too, like when he knocked out Hernandez and
Yep. Yep.
so it's really a 50-50.
And the great part about it, Sean, is that it's a real rivalry fight. I
Yeah.
feel like in boxing these days we don't get enough of these kind of fights. So it's nice to see two guys that actually don't like each other, that actually have a lot to prove and fight for. To your point about Ford fighting in the pocket, I agree actually, because that's what I said in my initial thoughts video on my channel. I think in this fight, Ford is going to have to summon some of those spirits from the Komatov fight because you know, so far as run at 130, he's shown flashes of his power, but he hasn't really been getting these guys out of there that he probably should be getting out of there, like your Orlando Capo Gonzalez and Abraham Novas and these kind of guys. Um, but Ford, what I've learned about Ford over the years is that he's definitely probably more so than most guys in boxing. He really fights up and down to his competition. So if you get him in a fight where people think he might lose, he's going to give you the Komatov fight. And so that's what I'm excited about because ever since the Komatov fight, I feel like he's been winning, but he just hasn't looked like that guy from that night. And Foster really is rounding. He's rounding out really well into a top, elite fighter. Box from the outside. I said it when he fought Fulton. He's really good at just keeping things nice and long and sharp and professional down the middle. And so I feel like that could really help him in this fight because when Ford fought even like a guy like Nick Ball, I remember watching that fight. I know he was weight drained and all those kind of things, but it just felt, and not even just the Nick Ball fight, other fights in his career. There's been a couple fights in his career where it feels like it takes Ford a round or two more, a round or two long to make an adjustment. I think the adjustments is what's going to be the important thing in this fight. If Ford is able to get in the pocket, how fast can Oshaki make it an outside fight? If Oshaki makes it an outside fight, how fast can Ford get the fight in the mid range or in the pocket again and rip those shots off and be the younger, more athletic fighter? So it's a brilliant fight.
Yeah, and Ford has basically said as much as that. Like you're not really like that in the pocket like that. And I know some people on Twitter that are close to his camp, and they're banking on that too. That Shock is gonna want to get out of there, take that
Yep,
step out, and reestablish distance. That could also not look good to the judges
it's true.
if they feel like the younger fighter is imposing himself on you a little bit there. But then you look at the odds, and I believe Foster actually is the opening favorite. And part of that makes sense because if you've seen spots of Foster, he's had to rally, like against Rocky Hernandez. And another fight, I can't, was it Nova, where he had to close the show strong when it was a little close? And
It was Nova. Yeah, that was Nova.
so he's shown he can bite down and explode himself a little bit in the pocket, right?
Yeah,
And he's prone to lulls too. What? Oh, you almost get stung by someone. Oh, okay. What's up, Johnny?
what's
But
up, Johnny?
one problem, one problem for Foster too has been being caught between styles.
Yeah,
He'll if he went. That's part of why Conceição got that controversial decision on him one time. Is his defense can be locked down, but then he forgets about his offense.
yeah, he's not throwing anything, and guys just running the numbers on him, getting the output higher.
Right. So, but it makes sense that he's the favorite because he's coming off the best performance of his career. He's been a champion at this twice for a while, and he's shown he can fight at both ranges, long range and in the pocket. Um, but yeah, man, one thing I disagree with Foster about is he said I saw him at the stare down in Vegas a couple days ago. He's not really as confident as he says. Oh no, he is. He 100% believes Raymond Ford. He's going to put belt to ass in this fight.
Yeah, and I think Raymond Ford believes that. Ra- Ra-
100%. Yeah.
Raymond Ford, he feeds off of. He's one of those guys. He really feeds off of doubt and people counting him out. And this is a fight where a lot, it's 50-50. So there's enough people counting him out to where he's going to be really, really up to this fight. And we've seen it even in the preparation for this fight. They're bringing in Richardson Hitchens. He's sparring Shakur. Like, what did Oshaki say? They're bringing in the Avengers to
The
beat me. I
Avengers,
thought I
right.
was supposed to be easy work.
Yeah,
So,
it's fun to make that talking point. Tiafimo made it before Shakur, and it didn't work well. I get it. It's like you're like, man, look at you guys. I get it. I get the point, right? How if you're on the opposition side, you're annoyed by your irritate. You think it's corny, right? But in reality, there's obviously something to it, man. A lot of these guys, the Devin Haneys, the Keyshaws, the Shakurs, getting insight from the Crawfords, the Mayweathers, each other. It's produced a lot of results. And, you can make your point about it, Shock, but it's hard to argue with the results of working in those camps does.
yeah, and at the end of the day, iron sharpens iron. So if you have a chance of bringing the best work possible, why not?
Yeah, for sure. So, and then one other aspect of this fight, and we'll make another video about this once we get to fight. We'll give our final picks, but we're this weekend. It's in a way a Nakatani, and love the celebration of this being the Japanese Super Bowl of boxing. It's Benavidez Zerto, Cinco de Mayo weekend. Mexican War is expected. I love when you get two athletic, quick Black American fighters
Yes,
mixing it up, playing high speed chess, especially when there's a tinge of animosity there. And when
that's
those
some of the best fights
matchups
in
come, I
boxing.
look forward to them.
That's one of the best. That's some of the best fights in boxing. You know,
History.
I remember. I remember recently. I can't remember when we watched it. We were watching tape on somebody, and we
Thanks
decided to
and
go
Judah.
watch Spinks and Judah, and we were watching just how crafty those guys were, and you think about like even back in the day, like James Toney, Michael Nunn. I mean, like you once eloquently stated, Sean. The Black American from the ghetto. How'd you say it? The Black American kid from the ghetto is quite formidable.
Well, I mean, yeah, when people say that and they go, well, look at you stare. They're not all, I know not there's a whole black middle class. Look at the NBA. It's all kids who come from a lot more money than
There's
me
no
and
kids
Fred.
in the ghetto in the NBA anymore.
Well, what I was saying was, that is still the dominant archetype in the history of the sport.
Yeah,
That archetype has produced more champions than any other lineage in the history of boxing, from the Mexican lineage, Puerto Rican, Japanese, British, Eastern
Russian. Yeah.
European, many of which from all those backgrounds come from, lower circumstances too, economically speaking. But the dominant force historically over the course of 100 plus years in boxing has been that archetype. So, You know, it's always I just enjoy that style matchup. And it used to be a dime a dozen in the 80s. You get Terry Norris, Meldrick Taylor,
Yeah,
Mike McCallum, James Toney, et cetera, et cetera. And
we
it,
get it
it
less and less these days.
get a little bit less. So when it comes around, I look forward to it.